When you picture an ancient civilization, you probably imagine towering pyramids, vast temples, and the names of mighty pharaohs echoing through history. But what if I told you the greatest, most sophisticated ancient society the world had ever seen built? No grand palaces, left no king's name carved in stone, and their profound mysteries are locked away in a script we still cannot read. Yet, they mastered urban living in ways we still struggle with today. Welcome back, explorers. Today, we re-stepping back 4,500 years to uncover the breathtaking enigma of the silent cities of the Indus Valley. And I guarantee, by the end of this journey, you will never look at the concept of ancient history, or even modern urban planning, the same way again. If you're as fascinated by these forgotten worlds and unsolved mysteries as I am, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, so you don't miss our next deep dive. Now, dim the lights, settle in, and let's walk the hauntingly perfect streets of a civilization that vanished. Transition from previous script, unearthing the lost world, the discovery of the Indus Valley civilization. Imagine, if you will, the early 19th century. The British Empire was expanding across the Indian subcontinent, meticulously mapping its vast territories, documenting its diverse cultures, and in some cases, dismantling the old to build the new. For centuries, the rich tapestry of Indian history had been understood largely through ancient texts, invisible monuments, temples, stupas, and grand palaces. No one suspected that an entire civilization, one of the three earliest in Earth, lay completely buried, patiently waiting to reveal its secrets. The first whisper of something extraordinary came not from an archaeologist, but from a British soldier and adventurer named Charles Masson, a deserter from the East India Company's Bengal artillery. Masson roamed the Punjab region in the late 1820s, documenting his journeys. In 1826, while traveling through a remote area, he stumbled upon imposing ruins near a village called Harappa. He noted a ruined brick castle with very high walls and towers built on a hill, though he recognized its antiquity and described it in his 1842 book, Narrative of Various Journeys in Baluchistan, Afghanistan, and the Punjab. He couldn't have known the profound significance of what he saw. He was merely an early observer, the first European to report its existence. The ruins were so extensive that local villagers were already using the ancient, high-quality bricks for their own construction. Decades passed. The mid-19th century brought the expansion of the British railway system across India. Engineers needing ballast forth new tracks found a seemingly inexhaustible supply of perfectly formed pre-fired bricks near the village of Harappa. Thousands upon thousands of these ancient bricks were plundered and crushed, laid down as the foundation for the Lahore-Multan railway line. Without realizing it, they were literally building modern infrastructure on the remains of a forgotten world, knowingly destroying a significant portion of a major ancient city. Local legends spoke of an ancient ruined city, but its true age and origin remained a mystery. Then, in 1853, Sir Alexander Cunningham, an archaeologist and later the first Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India, visited Harappa. He observed the extensive brick robbing and found some curious, engraved seals, small, square stones with images of animals in an unknown script. He recorded these findings, but like Masson, he misinterpreted their true age, associating them with a later period of Indian history. He couldn't grasp that they belonged to a civilization far older than any then known in India. Cunningham returned to the site in 1872–73, briefly excavating and recovering another seal, but the full implications of his finds still eluded him. For years, the seals remained an intriguing anomaly, catalogued but not understood. It wasn't until the early 20th century, with the Archaeological Survey of India gaining more resources and a clearer mandate for systematic excavation, that the true story began to unfold. In 1904, John Marshall became the Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India. Marshall was a visionary who aimed to revive and overhaul Indian archaeology, emphasizing systematic excavation and conservation. The key breakthroughs came in the 1920s. In 1920, Marshall initiated excavations at Harappa, entrusting the work to one of his Indian protégés, Rai Bahadur Dayaram Soni, an accomplished Indian archaeologist, had visited the site in 1917 and recognized its potential, pushing for deeper excavation. Under his supervision, the first extensive excavations began at Harappa in 1920 to 1921. His team uncovered evidence of a large, well-planned city, with structures hinting at a sophisticated urban culture. Just a year or two later, a similar discovery began to emerge, some 590 kilometers to the south. Along the banks of the Indus River itself, R.D. Banerjee, another officer of the Archaeological Survey of India, visited a site known locally as Mohenjo-daro or Mound of the Dead. What Banerjee found was astonishing. As he unearthed the layers, he discovered remarkably similar pottery and artifacts to those found at Harappa, including those enigmatic seals with the unknown script. He immediately recognized the immense antiquity of Mohenjo-daro and the striking similarities between it and Harappa, suggesting they were part of the same, hitherto unknown civilization. He communicated his findings to John Marshall. The moment of revelation arrived in 1924. Sir John Marshall, a visionary leader, grasped the enormity of these concurrent discoveries. He realized that the artifacts from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were not isolated finds, nor were they merely remnants of a later period. They pointed to an entire line, incredibly ancient and vast civilization, distinct from and contemporary with the famous civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. This was a monumental shift in understanding ancient history. Until then, it was widely believed that Indian civilization began much later, with the Vedic period. The Indus Valley discoveries push back the timeline of organized urban life on the subcontinent by thousands of years. On September 20, 1924, John Marshall published his groundbreaking announcement in the Illustrated London News, titled A Forgotten Age Revealed. This publication brought the discovery of the ancient Indus civilization to the world's attention. He stated that these newly discovered sites represented an ancient culture with its own unique writing system. Scholars quickly began to link the artifacts to the ancient civilization of Sumer and Mesopotamia, providing the first clues to its astounding age. Subsequent large-scale excavations were conducted at both Mohenjo-daro and Harappa under the direction of Marshall, along with K.N. Dixit, Ernest Mackay, and others, throughout the 1920s and 1930s. These excavations uncovered sophisticated planned cities with advanced plumbing and bath systems, revolutionary for their time. Mohenjo-daro in particular was found to be the largest city of this civilization, spanning about 3 miles in circuit, leading many to believe it was a capital of an extensive state. Harappa, though heavily damaged by brick removal, also revealed an advanced urban layout. The discovery of the Indus Valley civilization was, in essence, a profound act of unearthing a lost world. Unlike dramatic tombs of pharaohs or the epic tales carved into Mesopotamian ziggurats, this civilization offered no clear narrative, no royal decrees, no triumphant battle scenes. Its language remained, and still remains, an unspoken mystery. Yet through the patient work of these early archaeologists, the silent stones and meticulously planned streets began to speak of a highly organized, technologically advanced, and enigmatic people. The revelations continued, expanding beyond Harappa and Mohenjo-daro to eventual line Kampas, over 1,000 sites spread across a vast area, making it the most extensive of the world's 3 earliest civilizations. The more they dug, the more questions arose. Questions that continue to captivate and challenge us today. But amidst these lingering questions, one aspect of the Indus Valley civilization speaks with remarkable clarity: their astounding mastery of urban planning and engineering. It's here, in the meticulously laid out streets and sophisticated water systems of cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, that we find undeniable proof of a highly organized and forward-thinking society. These were not random settlements that grew organically over time. They were meticulously conceived and executed urban centers, built with a precision that would rival many modern cities, demonstrating a vision far beyond their era. Imagine stepping back in time, not into a chaotic ancient world, but into a city built with an almost futuristic vision. The hallmark of Indus Valley cities, particularly Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, was their remarkable gridiron layout. Streets ran perfectly straight, often intersecting at precise right angles, dividing the city into a series of rectilinear blocks. This wasn't an isolated incident, a singular stroke of genius in one city alone. This uniform urban plan was replicated across numerous smaller settlements spread across the vast expanse of the civilization, suggesting not just a shared understanding of ideal urban design, but perhaps even a form of centralized authority or a powerful cultural ethos that prioritized order and efficiency. This systematic approach speaks volumes about the level of coordination and foresight that must have existed from initial conception to long-term maintenance. Mohenjo-daro, often referred to as the Mound of the Dead, offers perhaps the most comprehensive glimpse into this architectural genius. The city was broadly divided into two distinct parts: the citadel, situated on an elevated artificial platform, and the sprawling lower town, where the majority of the population resided. The citadel, though not a fortified defensive structure in the traditional sense, was an imposing mound built on an artificial platform of mud, brick, and packed earth. It rose majestically above the surrounding plains, encompassing an area of perhaps 20 acres, while its exact purpose remains debated. It seems to have housed structures of public importance, possibly administrative or ceremonial buildings, rather than royal palaces or temples. This absence of monumental temples or grand royal residences, so common in contemporary civilizations like Egypt and Mesopotamia, is itself a profound clue to the unique nature of Indus society, suggesting a different power dynamic and societal values where civic life, rather than individual rulers or deities, took precedence. Within the citadel, some of the most iconic structures of Mohenjo-daro were unearthed. Foremost among them is the Great Bath. Imagine a colossal structure, measuring approximately 12 meters long, 7 meters wide, and 2.4 meters deep, constructed with finely dressed bricks. What makes this structure truly astonishing is its engineering. The tank was made watertight by setting bricks on edge with gypsum mortar, a technique demonstrating remarkable precision, and then further sealed with a thick, naturally occurring bitumen or tar, applied along the sides and possibly also on the floor. This sophisticated waterproofing technology ensured that water could be retained for extended periods without significant leakage. A small, carefully designed outlet at one corner allowed for the complete drainage of dirty water, suggesting regular cleaning and refilling, a commitment to hygiene on a grand scale. Flights of steps led down into the basin from both the north and south, inviting easy access, in a series of smaller rooms. Some with wells surrounded the main structure. These might have served as changing rooms or spaces for preliminary purification rituals. While its precise function is still debated, most archaeologists believe it was used for ritual bathing, a practice that resonates with later traditions across the subcontinent, signifying the importance of purity, communal gatherings, or perhaps even a form of public health ritual within the community. Adjacent to the Great Bath lay another significant structure, often referred to as the granary or Great Hall. While its precise function is, a granary is debated by some scholars who suggest it might have been a public assembly hall or administrative building. Its massive scale, a multi-pillared hall covering an area of around 70 meters by 24 meters, clearly indicates a communal or administrative purpose. It featured a series of parallel walls which might have formed a sophisticated ventilation system for grain storage, protecting valuable foodstuffs from pests and decay, or perhaps supported a grand assembly hall where civic decisions were made. Regardless of its precise use, its sheer size and strategic location within the citadel underscore its monumental importance to the civic life and economic stability of Mohenjo-daro. The effort involved in its construction speaks to a centralized control over resource and labor, aimed at serving the needs of the wider urban population. Moving beyond the public structures of the citadel, we descend into the lower town, the bustling residential and commercial heart of Mohenjo-daro. Here the grid plan truly came into its own, a testament to systematic urban design. The main streets, some as wide as 10 meters, ran north-south and east-west, creating a highly organized urban fabric. These broad, thorough forests were supplemented by narrower lanes and alleys, all conforming to the rectilinear pattern. Even more impressive than the street layout was the city's drainage system, a feat of engineering unparalleled in the ancient world for its time. Every street, however narrow, was equipped with a meticulously constructed brick-lined drainage channel. These channels were almost universally covered with bricks or large stone slabs, protecting them from debris and making them virtually invisible beneath the street level. Wastewater from individual houses, often flowing through vertical terracotta pipes or small branch drains, would connect to these larger street drains, which then carried the effluent away from the city. Some larger drains even had sumps or traps at regular intervals, likely designed to catch solid waste and prevent blockages. Demonstrating an acute awareness of practical plumbing challenges, this wasn't merely a convenience. It was a profound and unwavering commitment to public health and sanitation. Centuries before such concepts were widely adopted elsewhere in the world. The extensive nature of this system suggests a highly organized workforce dedicated to its construction and continuous maintenance, indicating a society that deeply valued cleanliness and disease prevention. The residential buildings in the lower town also showcased remarkable standardization and planning. Houses were typically built of baked bricks, a durable material that required significant fuel and labor to produce, yet was used universally, unlike the mud brick construction common in many other ancient settlements. These bricks, notably, adhered to standardized dimensions, typically a 1:2:4 ratio of thickness to width to length, a testament to coordinated production and quality control. Most homes were multi-roomed, often centered around an open courtyard, which provided essential light, ventilation, and a private space for household activities. They featured private bathrooms, often on the ground floor, complete with neatly sloped floors leading to terracotta waste pipes that connected directly to the main street drains. Many houses also had their own private wells, meticulously dug to depths that sometimes exceeded 15 meters, ensuring a consistent supply of clean water right at their doorstep. This level of private sanitation and ready access to fresh water for ordinary citizens was truly extraordinary for the period. It paints a vivid picture of a society where cleanliness was not just a luxury for the elite, but a widely accessible standard, suggesting a high quality of life for the urban inhabitants. Mohenjo-daro provides the most complete picture. Harappa, though significantly damaged over centuries by brick robbers who plundered its ancient structures for railway ballast, reveals a similar story of architectural brilliance. Harappa also featured a distinct citadel and lower town, organized along a precise grid. The defensive walls of Harappa's citadel were particularly robust, tinced a massive structure of mud bricks, reaching a width of 13 meters in some places, and standing several meters high. These fortifications, unlike the platforms of Mohenjo-daro, might suggest a greater emphasis on defense, perhaps due to its location at the frontier of the Indus heartland, or simply varying needs over time, or even different periods of construction reflecting evolving threats. Harappa's lower town, like Mohenjo-daro's, demonstrated the same grid plan, well-laid streets, and advanced drainage. Archaeologists have also uncovered large platforms and what appear to be workers' quarters near the granary, suggesting a highly organized system of labor, food processing, and storage. The granary at Harappa, similar to the one at Mohenjo-daro, comprised multiple parallel blocks, reinforcing the idea of a systematic approach to food storage and distribution, crucial for sustaining a large urban population and protecting against famine. Evidence of craft production, like bead-making workshops, further underscores the organized nature of Harappan urban life. With designated areas for different economic activities, the consistency of brick sizes across hundreds of miles and centuries is a striking example of their sophisticated engineering. The bricks followed a precise 1:2:4 ratio of thickness to width to length, demonstrating an advanced understanding of measurement, standardization, and quality control. This uniformity would have streamlined construction, making it easier and more efficient to build structures, from domestic homes to public drains, and ensuring structural integrity. It implies a centralized system for brick production and distribution, or at least a widely adopted set of construction principles. Their water management systems, in particular, stand as a testament to their innovative spirit. Beyond the public baths and elaborate drains, evidence of large, expertly constructed reservoirs and complex irrigation channels has been found in some outlying Indus sites, such as Dhalavira, further highlighting their mastery over water resources, a critical skill for sustaining agriculture in a riverine civilization that depended on the annual inundation of the Indus River. The careful planning of wells, cisterns, and drainage networks speaks to a deep, practical knowledge of hydroengineering. Perhaps one of the most intriguing aspects of Indus Valley architecture is the absence of grand palaces, royal tombs, or massive temples, which so often dominate the archaeological records of contemporary Mesopotamia and Egypt. Instead, the focus appears to have been on civic infrastructure and public amenities. The Great Bath, the elaborate drainage systems, the well-planned streets, and the generally high standard of living for ordinary citizens. This suggests a society that may have been governed by a more collective or civic authority rather than an autocratic monarch or a powerful priestly class. Their investment was in the communal welfare and the efficient functioning of the city itself, reflecting a unique societal structure where perhaps religious or political power was less centralized or expressed in different ways than their contemporaries. The precision of their urban layouts, the uniformity of their bricks, and the complexity of their water systems all point to a high degree of central planning, coordination, and resource allocation. Who was responsible for this? Was it a group of civic engineers? A council of elders? A priestly class that valued purity and order above all else? The silent stones do not tell us. But what is undeniable is the profound level of organizational capacity required to conceive, construct, and maintain such complex urban environments over many centuries, a testament to a stable and effective administrative system. When we compare the Indus cities to their contemporaries, the differences are stark. In Mesopotamia, cities often grew organically, their winding alleyways a reflection of centuries of unplanned expansion. While they developed impressive ziggurats and palaces dedicated to their gods and rulers, their residential areas often lacked the systematic sanitation found in the Indus Valley. Similarly, in Egypt, focus was overwhelmingly on monumental architecture dedicated to pharaohs and gods, the awe-inspiring pyramids and colossal temples. While civic planning for the common populace was often less emphasized, the Indus civilization, in contrast, appears to have prioritized the lives and well-being of its urban inhabitants, creating an environment that was clean, orderly, and seemingly equitable in its provision of basic amenities like clean water and drainage. This dedication to public works and the remarkable uniformity of their urban design across such a vast geographical area and over such a long period of time, it's roughly from 2500 to 1900 BCE, suggests an enduring cultural ethos and a deep understanding of urban living. They were, without doubt, master architects, not just of individual buildings, but of entire urban ecosystems. Yet despite this clear evidence of architectural and engineering brilliance, the ultimate why behind their unique approach remains shrouded in mystery. Who guided these projects? What societal value, prioritized sanitation, standardization, and seemingly public welfare over monumental displays of individual power or wealth? These are the questions that continue to echo through the silent streets and sophisticated drains of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, inviting us to ponder the true nature of this remarkable yet enigmatic civilization. As we consider the remarkable urban planning and engineering genius of the Indus Valley civilization, the question naturally arises: what kind of people inhabited these meticulously designed cities? What were the rhythms of their daily lives, and what can we infer about their society, their culture, and their social structures? The silent streets and sophisticated drains of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa begin to whisper answers through the artifacts they left behind. Stepping into an Indus city like Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, one can almost hear the soft hum of daily activity. The cities bustling with an estimated 30,000 to 60,000 residents in their prime, were centers of a vibrant civilization. Life revolved around well-structured homes and a profound sense of public order. Most houses, predominantly built from standardized baked bricks, featured an open courtyard that served as the heart of the domestic space, providing light, air, and a private area for daily chores. Windows rarely opened onto the main thoroughfares, ensuring privacy, with entrances typically leading from smaller side lanes. While house sizes varied, suggesting some economic differentiation, the fundamental amenities were remarkably consistent across the urban landscape. Even smaller dwellings had at least 2 rooms, while wealthier families enjoyed multi-roomed, sometimes multi-storied residences. Crucially, almost every house was equipped with its own bathing area, and a sophisticated system of covered drains thought connected seamlessly to the larger municipal sewer network running beneath the streets. This advanced sanitation, unparalleled in the ancient world for its scale and efficiency, speaks volumes about a society that prioritized hygiene and public health, a stark contrast to many of their contemporaries. Wells were common, with many houses having direct access to clean water, further underscoring this commitment to civic well-being. The sustenance of these large urban populations relied heavily on a well-developed agricultural system, supported by the fertile plains of the Indus River. The Harappans were adept farmers, cultivating a wide array of crops that formed the basis of their diet. Staple grains included wheat and barley, which were likely prepared into breads or porridges using tandoori-style ovens, a cooking method whose roots stretch back to this ancient civilization. They also grew various pulses and legumes such as peas, lentils, chickpeas, and different types of gram, alongside oilseeds like sesame, date. Palms and melons provided fruits, and some regions cultivated millet. Notably, the Indus Valley civilization was among the earliest to cultivate cotton, a significant crop used for textiles. Beyond crops, animal husbandry played a vital role. They domesticated a variety of animals, including cattle, sheep, goats, water buffalo, pigs, and fowl. Evidence suggests a diverse diet, encompassing not only these agricultural products, but also non-vegetarian items like beef, mutton, pork, and fish. The presence of large granaries in cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro indicates a systematic approach to storing surplus produce, essential for feeding such dense urban centers and facilitating trade. Moving beyond basic needs, the Harappans displayed a keen sense of personal adornment and cultural expression.
Although direct textile evidence is scarce,
Impressions on clay and fragments suggest they wove a range of cotton fabrics and possibly used flax and wool. The limited depictions from figurines indicate simple, draped garments, with men typically wearing a cloth around the waist and a shawl draped over the shoulder. Women appear to have worn knee-length skirts. However, it was their jewelry and cosmetics that truly showcased their aesthetic sensibilities. Both men and women across all social strata adorned themselves with a remarkable variety of ornaments. The wealthy wore exquisite pieces crafted from gold, silver, and ivory, while others sported jewelry made from shell, bone, copper, and bronze. Semi-precious stones were highly prized and skillfully worked into beads. Materials like carnelian, lapis lazuli, agate, turquoise, amethyst, and jade, often imported from distant regions, speak to extensive trade networks and advanced craftsmanship in bead making. Men wore necklaces, armlets, and finger rings, sometimes even hair fillets. Women's adornments were even more elaborate, including bangles, earrings, nose studs, anklets, girdles, chokers, and intricate hairstyles. The Harappans were also well-versed in cosmetics, using cinnabar as a face paint, and knowing the use of lipstick and kohl or eyeliner. When we delve into the social fabric of the Indus Valley civilization, we encounter one of its most enigmatic features: the apparent lack of monumental displays of individual power. Unlike contemporary civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt, there is no conclusive evidence of grand palaces, temples dedicated to a singular deity, or elaborate royal tombs. This absence suggests a potentially more egalitarian social structure, where power might not have been concentrated in the hands of a single ruler or a rigid priestly class. The uniformity in city planning, standardized brick sizes, and consistent weights and measures across vast distances further imply a strong centralized administrative control, but without revealing a visible, singular authority figure. Who then governed these highly organized cities? The question remains largely unanswered due to the undeciphered Indus script. Theorists abound, suggesting that leadership might have rested with a council of elites, perhaps powerful merchants who oversaw the extensive trade networks, or possibly priests. Given the importance placed on shared civic infrastructure, some scholars propose a decentralized political system where various classes and centers of power were integrated. What is clear is that the society exhibited a high degree of organization and civic responsibility, functioning effectively without the over-symbols of kingship or military might seen elsewhere. The comparative lack of weapons and fortifications also points to a predominantly peaceful society, prioritizing trade and communal well-being over warfare. Despite the general sense of equality in public amenities, some social stratification existed. Variations in house size and the localized grouping of specialized craft workshops indicated division of labor and differing levels of wealth. Archaeological findings hint at a social hierarchy that may have included a learned class: warriors, traders and artisans, and manual laborers. Skills were often passed down within families, reinforcing specialized occupations. Women, too, appear to have held significant roles, as inferred from the numerous female figurines, including the mother goddess figures, which suggest their importance in religious and social spheres. Strong family organizations likely formed the basic unit of society, possibly leaning towards a joint family system. The cultural life of the Indus people, while still shrouded in much mystery, reveals a vibrant artistic tradition. Their artisans were highly skilled, producing exquisite pottery, often wheel-made. Adorned with intricate geometric and animal designs in black paint on a red slip, sculptures, though not abundant, are remarkable. The famous priest-king bust from Mohenjo-daro, with its contemplatives and trefoil-patterned shawl, hints at a significant figure, possibly a religious or political leader, even if his exact role remains debated. Bronze casting using the lost wax technique produced masterpiece like the dancing girl from Mohenjo-daro, a vibrant depiction of a young woman, and realistic animal figures such as the buffalo and goat. Terracotta figurines, often crude yet expressive, include toy carts, whistles, rattles, birds, animals, and the ubiquitous mother goddess figures, underscoring widely practiced spiritual beliefs. Leisure activities likely included dancing, music, and various games, with archaeological finds of game pieces and toys. While thousands of artifacts bearing the enigmatic Indus script have been discovered on seals, pottery, amulets, and weights, the language itself remains undeciphered. A profound barrier to understanding their own accounts of their daily lives, beliefs, and governance. This silence means our understanding is pieced together from material culture, a fascinating yet incomplete mosaic. The echoes of daily life in the Indus Valley civilization are thus not booming declarations of kings or conquest, but rather the quiet hum of an organized, seemingly equitable society. They speak of Apapau, who valued cleanliness, order, skilled craftsmanship, and perhaps communal well-being that manifested in their unparalleled urban infrastructure. These silent cities, even in their mystery, continue to invite us to imagine a world where the everyday life of the common citizen was in many ways surprisingly advanced. Our journey through the quiet hum of Indus daily life naturally leads us to consider the very gears that turn their world, their economy. How did such an expansive, sophisticated civilization sustain itself without obvious signs of centralized imperial power or vast armies? The answer, seen, a remarkable blend of robust agriculture, highly skilled craftsmanship, and extensive far-reaching trade networks. At its heart, the Indus economy was agrarian. The fertile floodplains of the Indus River and its tributaries provided an ideal environment for cultivation, much as they do today. The primary crops were wheat and barley, staples that fed their burgeoning urban populations. But the Indus people were also pioneers in other agricultural innovations. They were among the first in the world to cultivate cotton, weaving its fibers into textiles that likely formed a significant part of their internal economy, and perhaps even their trade goods. The presence of granaries in major cities like Harappa suggests a well-organized system for storing and distributing agricultural surplus, a fundamental component of any complex society. This surplus not only fed the urban dwellers, but also supported the specialized artisans who, as we've seen, produced such beautiful and functional items. Let's delve deeper into these crafts now, viewing them through thelons of economic activity. The pottery, which adorned their homes and aided in daily tasks, wasn't just decorative. It was a product of mass production. Kilns excavated at sites indicate large-scale manufacturing. Potters used the wheel extensively, creating a diverse range of forms, from large storage jars to delicate drinking cups. The distinctive redware, often painted with black geometric and animal motifs, points to a standardized, yet aesthetically pleasing output. This standardization speaks to an efficient system of production and distribution, meeting the needs of a large and widespread population. Metallurgy was another cornerstone of their economy, showcasing a remarkable mastery of materials. The Indus people primarily worked with copper and its alloy bronze. They mined copper from nearby regions like Rajasthan in India and Oman in the Persian Gulf, and processed it into a variety of tools, weapons, and ornaments. Axes, chisels, saws, razors, and fishing hooks, all crafted from metal. Speak to both practical utility and specialized skill. The discovery of furnaces and crucibles at archaeological sites confirms the presence of dedicated workshops, where metalworkers honed their craft, turning raw ore into valuable commodities. The famous dancing girl sculpture, a bronze masterpiece created using the lost wax technique, stands as a testament to their advanced understanding of metalworking. Transforming base metals into objects of high artistic and economic value, perhaps one of the most iconic symbols of the Indus Valley civilization, thistles, also reveal a crucial aspect of their economic life. Carved from steatite, a soft stone, and often depicting animals like the unicorn, an elephant, or a tiger, alongside the enigmatic Indus script, these seals were more than just artist expressions. They likely served a vital administrative or commercial purpose, perhaps as markers of ownership, identity, or even as tags for goods in transit. Their discovery not only within the Indus cities, but also in distant lands provides a tangible link to their trading activities, hinting at an intricate system of exchange and accountability. The creation of exquisite beads, another hallmark of Indus craftsmanship, highlights a highly specialized industry. Workshops dedicated to bead production have been found, particularly in cities like Lothal and Mohenjo-daro. Artisans meticulously crafted beads from a dazzling array of materials: carnelian, lapis lazuli, agate, jasper, steatite, gold, silver, and shell. Many of these materials were sourced from distant regions, requiring extensive works to procure. The process involved drilling tiny holes, often with remarkable precision, through hard stones, followed by polishing and sometimes etching with intricate designs. These finished beads were not just personal adornments, they're valuable commodities, likely traded bithynerally and with external civilizations, perhaps even serving as a form of currency or prestige good. The discovery of unfinished beads in workshops filled with debris offers a glimpse into the industrious nature of these artisans. Beyond these tangible crafts, we can infer their significant economic activities. The cultivation of cotton, as mentioned, implies a thriving textile industry. While the cloth itself rarely survives the millennia, spindle whorls and impressions of textiles on seals suggest that weaving was a widespread practice. The production of bricks, standardized in size across the vast civilization, is a massive enterprise, underpinning their unparalleled urban development and requiring organized labor and resource management. Now, let's turn to the lifeblood of any ancient economy beyond local production: trade. The Indus Valley civilization was not insular. It was a vibrant hub within a larger, ancient world economic system. Evidence suggests extensive trade networks, both internal and external. Internally, goods like copper from Rajasthan, gold from Karnataka, precious stones from Gujarat and Afghanistan, and timber from the Himalayas would have moved between different regions of the civilization, connecting various cities and resource-rich areas. Externally, the Indus people maintained robust trade relations with distant lands. Their most significant trading partner appears to have been Mesopotamia. The Sumerian and Akkadian civilizations in modern-day Iraq. Archaeological discoveries have yielded numerous Indus seals and artifacts in Mesopotamian cities. And conversely, Mesopotamian cylinder seals and artifacts have been found in Indus sites like Mohenjo-daro and Lothal. Texts from Mesopotamia refer to a land called Meluha, which scholars widely believe refers to the Indus Valley. These texts describe trade in commodities like lapis lazuli, carnelian, copper, timber, and cotton, all products associated with the Indus region. Trade routes were multifaceted. Land routes connected them to Central Asia and the Iranian plateau, facilitating the exchange of materials like lapis lazuli. But it was maritime trade that truly connected them to the distant lands of Mesopotamia and the Arabian Peninsula. Sites like Lothal, with its impressive dockyard, offer compelling evidence of bustling port cities engaged in overseas commerce. This dockyard, a remarkable feat of engineering for its time, could have accommodated numerous ships, facilitating the loading and unloading of goods. The discovery of shell, fish bones, and even a Persian Gulf-type seal at Lothal, further underscores its role as a key maritime trading hub. Boats depicted on seals and pictorial so confirm their seafaring capabilities. What made this extensive trade network so efficient and trustworthy? A crucial element was the remarkable standardization seen throughout the Indus Valley civilization. This is perhaps most evident in their system of weights and measures. Cubicultured weights found consistently across hundreds of sites exhibit a precise binary system in the lower denominations and a decimal system in the higher ones. This uniformity strongly suggests a centralized authority or a universally accepted set of standards that facilitated fair exchange and commerce over vast distances. Imagine trading grains or precious metals across hundreds of miles, knowing that the weights used in one city would be identical to those in another. This level of standardization is unparalleled in the ancient world for a civilization of its size and scope, speaking volumes about their economic sophistication and organizational prowess. Innovation was not merely confined to their urban planning or water management, it permitted their economic life. The development of sophisticated tools for crafting, the efficient organization of specialized workshops, the early cultivation and processing of cotton, and the construction of massive dockyards like Lothal all point to a people constantly seeking to refine their methods and expand their capabilities. The economic organization of the Indus Valley civilization remains somewhat debated due to the lack of deciphered texts. However, the uniformity in city planning, the standardization of bricks and weights, and the absence of clear palaces or grand temples suggesting a single dominant ruling class, lead many scholars to believe that their economy might have been managed communally or through a system of merchant guilds or civic bodies. It appears to have been an economy of widespread prosperity, where the focus was on collective well-being rather than the ostentatious display of individual wealth. This unique structure, combined with their advanced craftsmanship and extensive trade, allowed the silent cities to thrive for centuries, creating a vibrant and prosperous society that remains, even in its quietude, an astonishing testament to human ingenuity. The economic organization of the Indus Valley civilization remains somewhat debated due to the lack of deciphered texts. However, the uniformity in city planning, the standardization of bricks and weights, and the absence of clear palaces or grand temples suggesting a single dominant ruling class, lead many scholars to believe that their economy might have been managed communally or through a system of merchant guilds or civic bodies. It appears to have been an economy of widespread prosperity, where the focus was on the collective well-being rather than the ostentatious display of individual wealth. This unique structure, combined with their advanced craftsmanship and extensive trade, allowed the silent cities to thrive for centuries, creating a vibrant and prosperous society that remains, even in its quietude, an astonishing testament to human ingenuity. Yet despite the astonishing clarity we have gained regarding their urban planning, their daily routines, and their intricate economic networks, a profound silence continues to shroud their inner world. It's unlike the Egyptians with their hieroglyphs, or the Mesopotamians with their cuneiform. The people of the Indus Valley left behind a language we still cannot speak, a script that refuses to yield its secrets. This unspoken language, along with the fragmented Clusto, their spiritual beliefs, represents one of the most compelling and frustrating mysteries of this remarkable civilization. The unspoken language, enigmatic script, and spiritual beliefs imagine a civilization that was highly advanced, deeply organized, and widely connected, yet left no written record that we can currently understand. This is the enduring paradox of the Indus Valley civilization. Across thousands of archaeological findings, primarily on small, intricately carved steatite seals, but also on pottery, copper tablets, and occasional ivory rods, we encounter their unique script. It's a pictorial script, sometimes referred to as a logosyllabic system, meaning each symbol might represent a word, a concept, or even a syllable. The signs themselves are fascinating: fish, birds, human figures, geometric patterns, and abstract symbols, all arranged in short sequences, typically reading from right to left. The average inscription found on these seals is incredibly brief, often comprising only 5 signs. The longest known inscription contains a mere 26 symbols. This brevity is one of the primary obstacles to its decipherment. Think about it: without long texts, without clear grammatical patterns, and crucially, without a Rosetta Stone, a bilingual inscription where the Indus script is paralleled with a known language, we are left guessing. Scholars have identified somewhere between 400 and 600 distinct signs, which suggests it was not a purely alphabetic or syllabic system like those developed much later, but rather a more complex one. For decades, countless dedicated scholars have attempted to crack the code. Various theories have been proposed. Some believe the language underlying the script belongs to the Dravidian family, a group of languages spoken today, primarily in South India and parts of Sri Lanka, with a notable outlier in Pakistan, the Brahui language. Others have suggested connections to Indo-Aryan languages, or even to the Munda languages of eastern India. However, none of these theories have gained universal acceptance due to the lack of conclusive evidence. Without a breakthrough, like the discovery of a long inscription or a bilingual tablet, the Indus script remains a tantalizing enigma, a locked door to the minds of an ancient people. The inability to decipher their script means we lack the insights that written records provide for other ancient cultures. We don't have their royal decrees, their epic poems, their historical accounts, or their detailed religious texts. We don't know the names of their rulers, their poets, or their priests. This silence is profound, forcing us to piece together their worldview, their beliefs, and their spirituality solely through the material remains they left behind. It's like trying to understand a complex dream from fragmented images alone. So, how do we begin to comprehend the spiritual landscape of a people whose thoughts remain unwritten? Our understanding is built upon careful interpretation of their art, their artifacts, and their unique architectural features. One of the most striking clues comes from the numerous terracotta figurines found across Indus sites. Among these, the Mother Goddess figurines are particularly prevalent. These small hand-modeled figures, often depicted with prominent breasts, hips, and sometimes intricate headdress, suggest a reverence for the feminine principle, fertility, and the life-giving power of nature. They might represent a mother deity, an earth goddess, or simply an idealized representation of fecundity, crucial for an agrarian society. Its emphasis on a maternal, nurturing deity resonates deeply with later Hindu traditions centered on the worship of Devi, the divine feminine. Perhaps the most famous and debated artifact related to their spiritual beliefs is the so-called Pasupati seal. Discovered at Mohenjo-daro, this seal depicts a large, three-faced figure seated in a yogic posture surrounded by animals: an elephant, a tiger, a rhinoceros, and a buffalo with two deer beneath throne. Many scholars interpret this figure as a proto-Shiva, an early form of the Hindu deity Shiva, often known as Pasupati, the Lord of Animals. Definitive proof is impossible. The striking similarities to later iconography suggest a deep continuity of religious thought in the Indian subcontinent. Animals clearly held significant symbolic or religious meaning for the Indus people. Besides the creatures on the Pasupati seal, the majestic zebu bull, with its distinctive hump, is a recurring motif on seals, suggesting strength, power, and perhaps a sacred connection, much like Nandi Shiva's bull in later Hinduism. The unicorn motif, a single-horned creature, often depicted in profile, is the most common animal on Indus seals. Its precise significance remains elusive, perhaps a mythical beast, a symbol of purity, or even a totemic animal for a specific clan. The ubiquitous presence of these animals speaks to a spiritual connection with the natural world. Another profound indicator of their spiritual or ritualistic practices is the architecture itself. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro is a prime example. This large, elaborately constructed tank, with precise brickwork and bitumen lining to prevent water leakage, strongly suggests a ritualistic purpose. While it wasn't a public swimming pool, its use likely involved ceremonial bathing or purification rituals, perhaps during special festivals. The emphasis on water, cleanliness, and purification seen in the meticulous drainage systems throughout the cities, along with the Great Bath, hints at a deep cultural emphasis placed on purity, a theme that continues to be central in many South Asian religions. Unlike other contemporary civilizations that erected colossal temples dedicated to their gods, the Indus cities lack grand, obvious religious structures. This absence has led scholars to speculate that their worship might have been more communal, domestic, or tied to natural sites, like sacred trees or rivers. Seals depicting figures within pipal trees suggest tree worship, a practice still prevalent in parts of India. This decentralized form of worship focused perhaps on individual purity, fertility, and a connection to nature. Stands in contrast to the state-sponsored, temple-centric religions of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Finally, their burial practices offer a glimpse into their beliefs about death and the afterlife. Most burials found are relatively simple. The deceased were typically laid out in an extended position, often with a few pots or personal ornaments. There is a notable absence of monumental tombs or elaborate funerary rites seen in some other ancient cultures, suggesting perhaps a materialistic view of the afterlife, or a belief system that didn't necessitate grand preparations for the journey beyond. The focus seems to have been on simple interment, rather than elaborate attempts to preserve the body or provide vast material wealth for the deceased. In essence, while the Indus script remains silent, the fragments of their material culture whisper tales of a people deeply connected to nature, revering fertility, perhaps worshipping a proto-Shiva figure, and valuing purity. Their spirituality, unlike that of their more verbose contemporaries, seems to have been woven subtly into the fabric of their daily lives, into their interactions with the natural world, and into the very design of their carefully ordered cities. It is a spirituality we can only glimpse, but one that continues to resonate, hinting at the deep roots of many enduring beliefs in the Indian subcontinent. Our journey through the silent cities of the Indus Valley has unveiled a civilization of remarkable ingenuity, meticulous planning, and a unique spiritual sensibility woven quietly into their daily lives. But as with all great stories, there often comes a point of profound transformation, turning of the page that leaves us with more questions than answers. For the Indus Valley civilization, that turning point is known as the Great Vanishing. Imagine a vast and flourishing civilization, spanning an area larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined, its cities meticulously planned, its trade networks thriving, its people living in remarkable harmony with their environment. Then, around 1900 BCE, something fundamental began to shift. The vibrant urban centers started to decline. Their carefully maintained infrastructure fell into disrepair, and populations began to dwindle, eventually abandoning these once bustling metropolises. It wasn't a sudden cataclysmic end like the eruption of a supervolcano or the impact of a meteor, but rather a gradual, pervasive decline that slowly, inexorably, led to the disappearance of the great Harappan cities. What could have caused such a widespread and profound collapse? The answers remain elusive, debated by archaeologists and historians to this day, forming one of the most compelling mysteries of the ancient world. One of the most prominent and widely accepted theories points to profound environmental and climatic changes. The lifeblood of any ancient civilization was its water supply. And for Indus people, that meant the monsoon rains and the mighty Indus River system. Evidence suggests that around 1900 BCE, the monsoon patterns, which had reliably watered the subcontinent for millennia, began to shift dramatically. Geological and paleoclimatological studies indicate a period of sustained aridity, marked by a weakening of the summer monsoon. This would have had devastating consequences for an agrarian society heavily reliant on seasonal rains for their crops, primarily wheat and barley. Imagine the fertile plains slowly turning drier, the once dependable rivers dwindling, and the vast agricultural lands becoming increasingly difficult to cultivate. As water sources became scarcer, crop yields would have plummeted, leading to widespread food shortages and famine. This environmental stress would have placed immense pressure on the urban centers, which depended on the surplus food produced in the surrounding countryside. People would have been forced to abandon their homes in search of arable land and dependable water sources, leading to a mass exodus from the city's two smaller, more scattered rural settlements. Archaeological findings support this theory. In the later phases of the Harappan civilization, there's evidence of a decline in the size and complexity of urban settlements, alongside an increase in the number of smaller, more temporary sites in areas that previously weren't heavily populated, suggesting a dispersal of the population. Compounding the issues of changing monsoon patterns was another significant environmental factor: the shifting courses of rivers. The Indus Valley civilization, particularly its eastern arm, was heavily dependent on the Gagar-Hakra river system. It's often identified by some scholars as the mythical Saraswati River. This river, fed by Himalayan glaciers and monsoon rains, was once a mighty waterway supporting numerous Harappan settlements, including many that rivaled Mohenjo-daro and Harappa in importance. However, geological evidence suggests that tectonic activity in the region caused major changes in river courses. Over time, the Sutlej and Yamuna rivers, which were once tributaries of the Gagar-Hakra, either changed their course and became part of the Indus and Ganges systems, or their glacial meltwater sources dwindled. The drying up or significant weakening of the Gagar-Hakra river system would have been catastrophic for the cities. Along its banks, entire regions that were once verdant and densely populated would have been rendered inhospitable, forcing millions to migrate. Without a stable and sufficient water supply for irrigation, drinking, and sanitation, the complex urban infrastructure that defined the Harappan cities would have become unsustainable, the very foundation of their urban planning. With its focus on water management through sophisticated drainage systems and wells, this forced migration would have led to a breakdown in established trade routes and administrative structures, further accelerating the decline. For many years, another theory, one rooted in conflict and conquest, dominated discussions about the Harappan decline. The Aryan invasion theory, propounded most notably by the British archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler. This theory suggested that the Indus Valley civilization met a violent end at the hands of invading Indo-Aryan tribes from Central Asia. Wheeler pointed to the discovery of unburied skeletons in Mohenjo-daro, some bearing marks of violence, and interpreted the impressive fortifications of Harappan cities as evidence of a civilization preparing for war. He connected these findings to references in the Rig Veda, an ancient Indian scripture, which describes Indo-Aryan deities like Kindra destroying fortified cities. However, modern archaeological research has largely debunked the Aryan invasion theory as the primary cause of the Harappan collapse. The evidence for widespread conflict and destruction across the vast expanse of the Indus civilization is simplement there. The skeletons found in Mohenjo-daro are relatively few in number and do not show signs of a systematic massacre or battle. Furthermore, many of the skeletal remains predate the commonly accepted period of decline, or belong to individuals who died from natural causes. The fortifications were more likely for defense against local skirmishes or to control access, rather than preparation for a foreign invasion. The decline of the cities was not a sudden violent upheaval, but a gradual process of abandonment and urbanization. While Indo-Aryan migrations into the Indian subcontinent certainly occurred, they are now understood as a much later, more gradual process, and not the direct cause of the Harappan civilization's demise. The impact was more likely cultural assimilation, linguistic diffusion over centuries rather than a military conquest. Beyond external pressures like climate change or hypothetical invasions, some theories explore internal factors that might have contributed to the decline. One such idea is that the civilization simply became too large and too complex for its own good, leading to a systemic collapse. Imagine the strain on resources required to sustain massive urban populations with their intricate sanitation systems, large-scale public works, and extensive trade networks. Over time, environmental degradation might have occurred to intense agriculture. Deforestation for fuel and building materials, or overgrazing. This pressure on the land, combined with the difficulties of managing such a vast and interconnected system, could have led to a gradual internal decay. There's also the possibility of a breakdown in social cohesion or administrative control. We know that Harappan cities were remarkably uniform in their planning and cultural artifacts, suggesting a degree of central authority or at least a powerful shared cultural identity. What if this authority began to wane? Perhaps a series of poor harvests, combined with economic disruptions, led to social unrest or a loss of faith in the existing order. The maintenance of sophisticated urban infrastructure, like the Great Bath or the elaborate drainage systems, would have required significant communal effort and organization. If that organization faltered, sanitation would decline, disease could spread, and the quality of life would deteriorate, pushing people to seek simpler, more sustainable lives elsewhere. Evidence of declining quality in later constructions, with reused brick sand, less meticulous planning, might hint at a breakdown in this once rigid civic order. This doesn't necessarily imply a violent revolution, but rather a gradual disillusionment and fragmentation of the once unified Harappan identity. Ultimately, it is highly probable that no single factor was responsible for the Great Vanishing. Instead, most scholars now lean towards a multi-causal theory, suggesting a complex interplay of environmental, economic, and social stresses that cumulatively led to the civilization's decline. Picture a perfect storm brewing over centuries. The monsoon rains become erratic, the rivers shift, making large-scale agriculture unsustainable in key regions. This environmental stress triggers widespread famine and forces mass migrations. As populations move, the intricate trade networks that connected distant cities begin to unravel, disrupting the flow of raw materials and finished goods, hitting the artisan classes particularly hard. The once thriving economic engine sputters. Simultaneously, the challenges of feeding and governing a dispersed and increasingly stressed population become overwhelming for whatever central authority existed. The civic order begins to fray. The people, facing hardship, perhaps resort to smaller, self-sufficient communities, abandoning the grand centralized cities. This wasn't an abrupt end, but a transformation, a deurbanization. The late Harappan phase, as archaeologists call it, shows a significant decrease in the size and number of major urban centers, a decline in the quality of craftsmanship, and a shift towards more regionalized cultures. People did not vanish. Rather, their way of life, their sophisticated urban culture fragmented and dissolved, giving way to smaller, distinct regional identities. Some scholars describe this as a systemic collapse rather than a true disappearance, where the complex systems that sustain the urban civilization could no longer be maintained, leading to a decentralization of population and power. The enduring mystery of the Indus Valley civilization's decline, like the enigma of its script, continues to captivate us. While we may never uncover a single, definitive answer, the ongoing research provides increasingly nuanced insights. The silent cities, in their abandonment, offer a poignant reminder of the fragility of even the most advanced human societies. When faced with profound environmental shifts and the complex challenges of managing large interconnected populations, their quiet vanishing, without grand battles or monumental collapses, mirrors the quiet, seemingly peaceful way they built their world. Yet their legacy, though transformed, did not entirely disappear. Elements of their spiritual beliefs, their agricultural practices, and perhaps even fragments of their societal structures resonated through subsequent cultures in the Indian subcontinent, planting deep roots for future civilizations to emerge. What remains is not just the ruins, but the enduring questions, challenging us to understand the delicate balance between human ingenuity and the immutable forces of nature. As we discussed, the Indus Valley civilization didn't vanish in a single cataclysm, but rather underwent a profound transformation, a deurbanization. Yet to say it simply disappeared would be to overlook the deep, enduring roots it laid for the tapestry of subsequent cultures that blossomed across the Indian subcontinent. The quiet fading of the Indus cities wasn't an erasure, but a reweaving, subtle but persistent echoing of their innovations and perhaps even their beliefs. What remains beyond the silent bricks and enigmatic seals are the questions they continue to pose, questions that challenge our understanding of civilization itself. Perhaps the most tangible legacy of the Indus people lies in their agricultural practices. They were pioneers of organized farming, cultivating a diverse range of crops, including wheat, barley, and millet. And notably, they were among the earliest civilizations to grow cotton for textiles. Their sophisticated understanding of floodplain agriculture, combined with rudimentary but effective irrigation techniques, allowed them to feed vast urban populations. These fundamental agricultural methods, adapted and refined, became the bedrock of food production for millennia in the region. The very staple crops that sustained later Indian societies have their origins in the fertile fields tended by the Harappans. Beyond the fields, the Harappan genius for urban planning and engineering left an indelible, if indirect, mark. While no subsequent Indian civilization replicated the exact grid layout or advanced drainage systems of Mohenjo-daro or Harappa on the same scale, the idea of a meticulously planned urban environment with dedicated public spaces and a focus on sanitation may have resonated through time. The sheer concept of civic amenities, of communal wells, and carefully constructed bathing areas speaks to an understanding of public health and order that was remarkably ahead of its time. These principles, perhaps passed down through generations of builders and settlers, could have subtly influenced later urban developments, even if the direct architectural forms changed. The craftsmanship and technological innovation of the Indus people also continued to manifest in various forms. Their standardized system of weights and measures, so crucial for equitable trade, provided a practical model for commercial interactions that endured. The skill of their artisans, evident in the intricate steatite seals, the precise bronze castings, and the beautiful pottery, demonstrates a mastery of materials and techniques that likely informed the craft traditions of later eras. Even the precise drill work on their carnelian beads speaks to a technological sophistry that would not have simply vanished without a trace, but rather evolved and adapted in new contexts. However, it is in the realm of spiritual beliefs and iconography where the most intriguing and debated continuities are found. The religious life of the Indus Valley civilization, as far as we can reconstruct it from archaeological findings, appears to have held elements that resonate powerfully with later Hindu traditions. Consider the famous Pashupati seal, depicting a seated three-faced figure surrounded by animals. Often interpreted as a proto-Shiva, a precursor to the Hindu god Shiva, the lord of animals and yogis, the meditative posture, the presence of specific animals, and the trident-like headgear all bear striking resemblances to later depictions of Shiva. Similarly, the numerous female figurines found at Indus sites are often interpreted as representations of a mother goddess, a pervasive deity associated with fertility and creation. This concept of a powerful female divinity is central to many later Indic traditions, particularly those focused on Shakti. The reverence for water, evidenced by the Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro, suggests a strong emphasis on ritual purity and ablution, a practice that remains deeply significant in Hinduism. The pipal tree, frequently depicted on seals, continues to be considered sacred in India, and the bull, a recurring motif, holds a revered place as Nandi Shiva's mount. Even the swastika symbol, found on Indus artifacts, predates its later unfortunate appropriation and holds ancient significance in various spiritual traditions across the subcontinent. While it is crucial to avoid drawing simplistic direct lines of descent, the parallels are too striking to ignore. These continuities suggest a profound, if gradual, absorption of Indus spiritual concepts and symbols into the broader stream of Indian religious thought. It's as if the silent prayers whispered in the Indus cities echoed through the ages, finding new forms and expressions in vibrant tapestry of later Hinduism. The core ideas of a cyclical universe, of the sacredness of nature, and the importance of ritual purity may have found their earliest organized expressions within the Indus Valley, subtly shaping the spiritual landscape for millennia. Yet despite these fascinating insights into their legacy, the Indus Valley civilization continues to be shrouded in enduring questions, mysteries that tantalize and challenge us. The most prominent, perhaps, is the undeciphered script. Thousands of short inscriptions, found on seals, pottery, and tablets, remain unread. What secrets do they hold? Is it a Proto-Dravidian language, an ancestor to the languages spoken in southern India today? Or is it an early Indo-Aryan tongue, suggesting a more complex relationship with later migrations? Or is it something else entirely, a unique language family now lost to time? The absence of a bilingual Rosetta Stone makes decipherment incredibly difficult, and until it is cracked, a significant portion of the Indus story, their thoughts, their literature, their own names for themselves, remains locked away. The day the Indus script is finally understood will be a watershed moment, potentially rewriting vast swaths of ancient history. Another profound question concerns the nature of their governance. Who ruled these vast, meticulously planned cities? Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, we find no grand palaces, no elaborate kingly tombs, no monumental statues of rulers. Was it a priestly class, a merchant oligarchy, or perhaps a more communal form of governance? The remarkable uniformity of their urban planning, weights, and pottery across such a vast geographical area suggests a strong central authority, or at least a highly integrated system of administration. Yet, the distinct lack of overt displays of power, such as massive fortifications or weaponry, paints a picture of a remarkably peaceful or at least peace-maintaining society. How did they achieve such civic order and standardization without apparent coercion? This enigma challenges conventional understandings of state formation, power dynamics in early civilizations, and of course, the cause of their decline remains a subject of intense academic debate. While the multi-causal theory involving climate change, shifting river courses, and environmental degradation is widely accepted, the precise interplay of these factors and the human response to them is still being unraveled. Was it a gradual abandonment, a series of migrations, or something more dramatic in certain regions? The sheer scale of the civilization's transformation, from thriving urban centers to smaller, fragmented communities, speaks to a profound societal shift, the exact mechanics of which continue to evade a single definitive answer. The seemingly peaceful nature of the Indus people is another captivating mystery. The relative scarcity of weapons, fortifications, evidence of warfare, contrasts sharply with their contemporaries in the Near East. Did they possess a unique social structure or philosophical approach that allowed them to maintain harmony over centuries? Or is the archaeological record simply incomplete, hiding deeper conflicts? This question pushes us to consider alternative models of civilization, where prosperity and order might not necessarily rely on military might. What remains, then, is not just the silent majesty of their ruins, but a persistent call to discovery. The Indus Valley civilization, in its quiet emergence and equally quiet transformation, challenges our assumptions about what constitutes a successful civilization. Their legacy is subtle, woven into the fabric of later cultures, yet profound in its implications. Their enduring questions beckon us to look deeper, to reconsider the delicate balance between human ingenuity and the immutable forces of nature, and to recognize that even in abandonment, a civilization can leave an indelible mark, shaping the world long after its grand cities have fallen silent. The journey into their world is far from over. The silent cities continue to speak. If only we learn how to listen to their whispers. The journey into their world is far from over. The silent cities continue to speak, if only we learn how to listen to their whispers. For what remains, beyond the perfectly laid bricks and the intricate seals, is not merely a collection of archaeological facts, but a profound and timeless question. How did a people achieve such widespread order without visible centralized power? How did they maintain harmony for centuries, in an age often defined by conflict? And what lessons, if any, can we glean from their quiet rise and their equally quiet transformation? Perhaps their greatest legacy lies precisely in what they did not leave behind. No imposing monuments to ego, no grand narratives of conquest etched in stone, no triumphant sagas of named kings. Instead, they left the humble testament of a civilization that prioritized sanitation, communal living, and an enigmatic, perhaps spiritual connection to the natural world. They challenge us to reconsider our definitions of progress and success, inviting us to ponder whether true advancement lies in the loudest displays of power or in the quiet, enduring wisdom of collective well-being. As we stand amidst the silent ruins beneath the vast South Asian sky, we are not just observers of a forgotten past, but participants in an ongoing discovery. Each untranslated symbol, each unearthed artifact, each reevaluated theory brings us a step closer to understanding the heart of these quiet city builders. Their story, still largely untold, resonates with a unique power, a subtle insistence that even in silence, and even in transformation, a civilization can leave an indelible mark, shaping the world long after its grand cities have fallen still. The whispers of the Indus Valley civilization continue to call across the ages, inviting us to listen, to learn, and to wonder. Thank you for joining me on this quiet journey into the past. If the whispers of these ancient cities have resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to Whispervale for more forgotten tales brought to life. And if you wish to delve deeper into the enigmas of our shared history, you might find our exploration of the secrets of the Nazca Lines equally captivating.